Everybody, Andrew here, back for our build review show. It is Monday, December 2nd of 2024. And on this show, I bring users builds up live on stream, giving them personalized feedback and advice about things that I think they can do differently in their builds and help them with contest selection, give them strategy and tips and feedback on the things that they're doing. It all in an effort to help them build stronger lineups and submit stronger lineups into their contests. So we do this show twice a week, typically here. We do this show on Mondays and Fridays at 5 p.m. Eastern. We did not have our Friday show last week due to holiday and traveling and things like that. So excited to be back today for the show. So hope you guys all had a nice weekend here. But we did have one user sign up today. Reminder, if anybody ever wants to get signed up, all you need to do, drop your DK username in the office hours channel. Let me know what sport and slate you want me to review, and I will add you to the list for the next show. But this user, Music Guy, signed up, so we're going to jump right in. We have plenty of time to review his lineups here. So asked for us to review the Sunday Night Football Showdown slate. So we're going to do just that. So I have the slate pulled up, have their build up here. We're going to start in the contest tab as always. So why don't we get that pulled up here? All right, loading now. And what do we see? So we see a good balance of single entry and 3-max here, right? Some very good single entries to play too, like these, $12 single entry, the $5 single entry have a lot of unique entrants as far as like, hey, one entry takes 16,000 different people to fill up this $5, right? So like those are good contests to play if you're going to play contests over $3, right? Thinking about the unique entrants or how many people it takes to enter the contest that you're playing. See, $1.20 max, 50 cent mini max, quarter jukebox, dime time. Yeah, playing them all. So this is phenomenal contest selection. Love what I'm seeing here. Let's pull up the mini max since there are the most entries in this contest, 150. Give this a second to load. Okay. So it looks like it's up. So let's close these other panes. Let's go over to users. Music Guy, 150 entries. So let's go equals 150. Sort by sim ROI. Okay, so what do we see here? So number one is their negative 10% sim ROI, right? So we got to figure out what's going on here. Average salaries like 49.4. Average dupes is 20. Unique lineups 4, under 5, 19. Sim average score 85. So what stands out to me here is one, we see a low sim average score, but we also see high duplicates, right? I think there is some correlation between these two here because all these other sets of sim average score lineups, right? 96, 90, 90, 88, 88, 89, 86, 86, 87, right? Like nobody's in this 85 range. And Music Guy's in like 85.09, right? So that's like on the low side here. So one, I think if they're going to play this low sim average score set, then they need to be like incredibly unique, right? I think a good example here is probably this person, Sacrilegious here, right? 86.68 sim average score. So closer, but look at the characteristics of their lineups. 6 average dupes as opposed to 20. And then we see 82 lineups under 5 dupes as opposed to 19, right? We don't see that huge of a difference in uniques 4 versus 11, but we do see like, hey, this player is playing a lot more unique lineups given their sim average score, right? So if you're going to play 85 sim average score, you would basically need to be even more unique than Sacrilegious is here, right? And then if you're going to play lineups around similar dupe characteristics as yours, then, maybe somebody like this Delio or Tadiello, if I'm pronouncing it right, they have 17 average dupes compared to your 20, right? Same number of uniques, similar number of under 5, but their lineups are projected for a little more than over 2 points higher on average, right? Compared to your set. So those are like the biggest differences I see here between the sets. The good thing is that this gives us a very clear path to figuring out like, hey, if you can do this and this different, then, this will dramatically improve your post-contest sim ROI numbers. So let's jump into your build here and see what you did. All right. So what do we see? So min salary 0, max salary 50K, no filters, 1 rule. This is an interesting rule. My own geo mean. Oh, okay. No more than 22. I was looking at the title of this and it was throwing me off, but I get it now. All right. So geo mean rule here. Interesting. I want to see something. Because they're using the rule. We typically recommend the rule if you're on starter, but they have 5,000 lineups here. Okay, so K Mahoney, who opted here, has a blue name in Discord, which means he's on Ultimate. So first thing, right? I would not recommend the aggregate rule over the custom metric. I think the custom metric and the filter are better options because you don't have an impact on the raw sim outputs, right? So like, for instance, if like we build your lineup and you have the aggregate rule, the builder has to go and find lineups that meet that rule, right? And so it ends up trashing a lot of lineups along the way. The other way is it builds your pool and then you trash lineups that you don't want as you go. And typically, like for showdowns, right? Like you're gonna typically need an optimal lineup to win. So it's not like, hey, I need this big pool. I'm trying to get diverse. I'm trying to, spread out and have like this, very, very neutrally correlated set, right? Like the way I think about Classic is like there are so many winning lineups that I want to get more diverse. But then with Showdown, I'm almost trying to like narrow down to like the set of lineups that I'm trying to find the optimal from, right? Because like it's one thing to win, but then it's another thing to get as much of the first place prize as you can when you do win, right? So like in that way, I think about Showdown differently. Now, so what I would change here, right? Because typically sometimes when you do the rule, if your rule is too aggressive, then it really impacts the projection of your lineup set, which I think is happening a little bit here. So one, I like that you're accounting for geomean. I would just do it differently, right? So I would go to your sorting metrics. I would go create a geomean one, which it looks like you have. And then I would do the post-build filter, right? We talked about this extensively on office hours today, but there's a couple different ways you could do it, right? So for instance, you have this big list of contests, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 contests, right? You could do a geomean for each one and use direct fill and go contest by contest. It is going to be time consuming. Option 2 is you do a blanket geomean filter where you filter out the highest 10 to 20% of geomean lineups, which would be like 500 to 1,000 lineups, which is what I've said I do just to save time across a number of contests. You could do your biggest contest, right? Like you could come in here and be like, hey, I'm going to do a geomean filter for the mini max because that one had over 100,000 entries and none of the other contests have that many entries. That's another way to do it, right? So I think one of those 3 options will work, either biggest, blanket filter, or contest by contest if you have the time, right? So you got to figure out which one works best for you. Now, I like your aggregate metrics, ROI, projection, upside. Those are good. We see a number. Well, not a number. There's 4 projection adjustments here. which seem fine. It's okay to have opinions. We don't see any in the flex. So users like, hey, let me put my opinions in for the captain, and then let's say interesting. So just quick note, I'm not 100% sure. I'm not 100% sure why you made these ownership adjustments, but I just want to remind you the impact here, right? So changing the ownerships has an effect on some ownership, geo-mean calculations, and saber score. It doesn't have an effect on anything else, right? So if you're trying to say, hey, I want James Cook to be, 9% owned in the field lineups, it doesn't impact that by itself, right? So you would have to make your adjustments and then go into the gear icon and then use the generate field from ownership option to effectively create a custom set of field lineups based on your projection adjustments here. So I just want to be clear on the impact, because it seems like you made a number of ownership changes, and I want you to get the benefit that you think it's having rather than adjusting stuff and it not having that benefit. So it looks like you only made those adjustments to the captain, but just wanted to call that out. Other than that, I think there's a lot of good stuff going on here. I don't think you're too far away from a really strong set of lineups. One thing I do recommend in general is when you're doing something for geo-mean, you should try to also do something for projection too, just because the way that the builder typically gets to lower geo-mean lineups is by sacrificing projection. So you don't want the builder to like go too far in one direction. So normally, like what I'll recommend is like, hey, let's say you decide to do like the geo-mean filter. Like, okay, hey, I'm going to filter out lineups by geo-mean, but then I'm also going to filter out my lowest projected lineups, so I can just raise the floor of the lowest projected lineups that I'm willing to play, right? So the builder can be like, okay, great, they want this geo-mean, fine, I'll go and find these lower geo-mean lineups. They end up being lower projected. Maybe they're not the best lineups to play, right? So then by putting that extra filter on for projection, now you make the builder go and find lineups that are closer to like a happy medium rather than just all the way in one direction with the ownership adjustment, right? So think about those. We've done demos where it's like, hey, I filter by geo-mean, my projection drops 3 points. I filter by projection as well, and then it brings my projection back up 1.5 points as far as like my average projection across 20 lineups or something like that. And that's great, right? So you could see like the builder has a big impact, but then you can like counterbalance that impact that it's having by understanding how it gets to that and what you need to change to have the opposite effect. So just to recap, contest selection, very, very good. Your sim average score was too low for the characteristics of your lineup set. I think it's coming from this aggregate rule. So let's try not using the aggregate rule. Let's try using a lineup filter for your geo-mean custom metric that you have in the list. And then you can decide one of the 3 ways you want to use it: contest by contest, biggest contest, or blanket filter. And then on top of that, use a projection blanket filter, filtering out like the bottom 10% lowest projected lineups. And that should just work across your pool. And then give that a shot. Let me know how it goes. I think that your exposure adjustments are fine. Consider generating a custom field from your ownership adjustments here to have a more of an impact on the ROIs in your contest sims. So those would be the things that I would be changing here, and hopefully that will help get you from a negative sim ROI to positive. So give it a shot tonight on Monday Night Football, and you can always ping me in Discord and let me know how it goes. I would love to hear tomorrow that you had a very strong set of lineups. All right. That was our only person who signed up for the Builder Review Show today. So reminder, we have the show twice a week, Mondays and Fridays, 5 p.m. Eastern. If you ever want to sign up, drop your Discord, drop your DK username in the Discord. Let me know what sport and slate you want me to review. We take signups all week. So if you want to sign up on Wednesday, great. I'll put you on the list for the next show, and then I will keep track of those until the next show. But appreciate everybody tuning in. I will see you all later. Until then, take care. Thanks. Bye.